Hi, welcome to Vector Bliss. So far we have been following according to this. Okay, so we have completed till this relative path. So now we will talk about AutoCAD layouts. So what are layouts? You know, when you open a new drawing, you have these three tabs here. One is model tab, then two layout tabs are there for a default template. So if you click on one of these, you can see that it is showing you a preview of a sort of printout, right? I mean the printout what you are taking. So the print preview sort of thing is what layout is showing you. Now in this dotted line what you are seeing here, this is the printable area, because this is the paper size, that white color space what you are seeing, that is the size of the paper you have chosen. Then on that paper, what is the area which is to be printed, which will be printed, that is what which is shown in this dotted line here. So this is the printable area, and inside that you can see one more thing that is called, this is the viewport. So the viewport means nothing but the content what you are putting here in the model space. That means suppose I am drawing a circle here. Okay, now if I go back to the layout space, this circle should be visible inside this viewport. If I zoom extends, you can see that this circle is coming here. So it is nothing but what you are seeing here inside this viewport is nothing but the model space, this one. So if I make any changes to the circle, suppose I am putting one more copy of the circle here, then you can see that it is replicated here, which means it is the same model space what you are seeing here. Now this is just one viewport what you are seeing here. You can have multiple viewports for this layout space. So to create a viewport, you will use the command mvu type. So you can see mvu, when you are typing, you can see that mvu is the command name. That is the command you are using to create a viewport. So once you enable that command, it will ask you to show a rectangular region for the viewport. So let me show it like this, so that you can see one more viewport is created and the model space is again shown inside that viewport. So like this you can create multiple viewports using mv command, make view. So that is mview, model view or make view, whatever it is. Okay, so that's how you create multiple viewports. So this paper space, you can create multiple viewports like this, and you can define how your layout is going to be. So maybe I need 2 viewports, or say 3 viewports like this, horizontal and 1 vertical, whatever it is. So this is up to you how you want to fit in your drawing here in this viewport and how you want to present it. Okay, so so right now this drawing is there, and this drawing is what we are going to show in this model view here on the paper space. But remember, your viewport should be fitting within the printable area here. So that is the dotted line rectangle what you see here. Now how do you change the paper size here? Suppose I want to print it on A0 size or A1 size or A3 size, whatever it is. So that you can change it here by right clicking on this layout tab. The current layout tab is layout 1. So you can right click on that and you can go to the page setup manager here, and you can see layout 1 is mentioned there. New, modify, import, you have these options for page setups. So you go to modify here. When you go to modify, you can see this box is talking about the plotter or printer. So this is where you have to choose what printer it is going to be. So some default printers are there when you install AutoCAD. They are like DWG to PDF, publish to web JPG, publish to web PNG, all these things. then some PC3. I'm not getting into all those are like plot style configurations and all. Okay, so just for the demonstration purpose we will select this DWG to PDF. This printer I am selecting, and I am saying my layout is going to be, see what paper size you want is what you have to select here. Okay, so you have this, you can see that there is B1, A5, A4, A2, A1, A0, all these paper sizes are there. So let me choose say A2 size. So you can see this orientation, it is mentioned here. Two sizes are mentioned here, A2 594 by 420 mm. The next one is 420 by 594. So that is like layout and landscape and portrait, sorry. So that is basically the orientation of paper. You can see that it is showing the preview here when I select that, and if I select the next one you can see it is showing like this. So this is basically landscape and portrait mode. Okay. So that is the sheet dimension is going to be like that. Okay, so let me select this landscape mode here. Then so that is for paper size. Then you have this plot area. What is that you want to plot? I want to plot the layout only, obviously, so I will select layout here. I have seen so many people using layout and then while printing they select this window here and show the window like this, the printable area of paper, which is not at all correct. You should never do that. If you are using layout and if you are doing page setup for layout, then I would strongly recommend you go with this layout option only, because that's how the default setups are being applied. Then you have this plot offset. So that is nothing but this printable area. From this you can see this corner here. So that is what this X and Y values are saying. So from here, this printable area, printable point, this being the origin point, how far you have to set up the origin point of this viewport, say this corner here. So if I put this 10 mm here and say preview, you can see that now this is 10 mm away from here. I will say exit. As I increase this X offset here, you can see this is becoming more and more away from this edge. So that is what this is. Usually what we do is we will provide an offset here for our content. We will provide an offset from the left side of the page to that is provided just because when you have 100 pages or 150 pages and when you bind it, you should be having some areas here for the binding. That is the reason why we are leaving this space here. Okay, so there has to have a margin. So if it is for say A0 size or A1 size and all, you might not require that, but still it is a good practice to leave a small margin there. It is not to take too much of space and leave it for margin and all, but a very nominal margin can be provided towards left side. That is always good. Now that is same about Y also. If I provide 50, you can see it will be lifted up little bit. You can see this is 50, this is 50 now. So it is this offset what it is talking about. Okay, we will put it back to 0, 0. Let me put it 0 for the time being. Then you have this plot scale here. I would strongly recommend you should never change this here if you are using layout. That is because for each layout, each viewport in the layout space, we would have already provided the scale, and the layout as it is going to print 1:1 scale. Otherwise, if you are putting a value for plot scale here, you will have to calculate the viewport scale based on annotation scales and every other scale what you are providing for these viewports. You have to calculate it based on the scale. So why to complicate things and all? There is no reason for doing it. So always make it 1:1 here. This is, again I am reminding you, this is exclusively for layout when you are using layout. But when you use window and plot it from this model space, that will be a different story altogether. there you might require to select a scale out of this list. Any of these scales you might end up picking. Okay, so we don't want to scale line weights and all, so keep out of this option unless otherwise it is very much required. Then you have this plot styles here. So if you are working for a company, I am not getting into plot styles and all in detail because that is we will go a little bit out of the scope of these videos. So I won't talk about this plot style tables right now here. But remember that when you are working for a company, obviously once they set up the CAD standards, they will be having a set of plot style tables, which are CTB files. So that will be loaded here and it will be available for you here. So right now let us choose this monochrome CTB, which is coming default with AutoCAD, and then you can check these options if you want, but just leave it as default for the time being. Then other option is drawing orientation, that is layout of the landscape or portrait. You can choose landscape in this case. Plot upside down, don't do that. Okay, now hit OK. Now you can see this layout, it is giving a small summary also here. So this layout right now has been set with these settings. That's what it says. Now hit close. This is our A2 layout. Let us delete this now, and suppose I want to have a viewport, say 1:100 scale. So what I will do, I will create a viewport, MV, again that command you should remember. I will create a viewport like this. Okay, then select the viewport. Then you can see down here on my taskbar, you can see the scales are there. So what should be the scale for this viewport? I am setting it to be 1:100. So if I click 1:100, you can see this viewport scale has been set to 1:100 now. Now I did not draw that circle based on any scales. That is the reason why it is showing so small. So in fact, actually, suppose we are having a room or something which is say 4000 by 3500 mm. Okay, and I am putting an offset of 230 as wall thickness. So this might give us a reference here. You can see that now this is showing the exact scale of 1:100. How this is A2 layout, A2 sheet. On A2 sheet in 1:100, this is how this plan is going to look. Okay, and also one more thing I want to talk about layout is that once you have set up these layouts, if you are using layouts for all your annotations, I would strongly recommend you go to layout space and do it inside the model view, that is the viewport here. Okay, go to the layout first. That means if you are in model space, don't try to put your annotations here and all. This is not the place for annotation. What happens is, like usually in usual scenario, this drawing will be coming from an extra file, and all your annotation you will be doing it on a sheet file. Okay, so as I mentioned before, I think I have told in the previous chapter, somewhere in the previous chapter I believe. So if you are having a drawing, you should be having minimum 2 DWG files for that. That is because the model elements and the annotation elements. So annotation elements is what we are putting in this sheet file. So this sheet file should be having this drawing coming in as an XREF, not directly drawn like this here. So what I mean to say is that this is now our layout, and this layout has been set for A2 size, and I will be having a drawing here which is an external reference. Then I go to the layout space, create my viewport here. Okay, select the viewport, change the scale to desired scale, whatever it is, 1:100 say. Now then after setting up the scale, you have to lock the viewport. Otherwise what happens is, accidentally if you are going inside the viewport and scaling it up or down, you are losing the scale now. Okay, so don't do that. So once you have set up this to a scale and pan it and set up the correct orientation of the drawing inside the viewport, then you have to lock it. So to lock a viewport, you can just right click here after selecting this viewport. Okay, come out of the viewport, select this viewport, right click, and you can say display locked. So that is if I could find it, yeah, here, display locked. Yes, you can say now this is locked. And when I say that display locked, you can see this lock symbol here has been turned to blue. Okay, so that means it is locked. If I click on that lock again, now this is unlocked. So that means I can go inside and zoom and pan, which will again change the viewport scale. So don't do that, always keep your viewport locked. Okay, and this is how we work with layout. So this is very important when it comes to sheet set manager, because you will be having a template, and in that template you would have already set up the desired layout. Okay, suppose you want to have your drawing in drawing on A2 size. All the drawings are going to be on A2 size. In that case, you will be using that particular template. In that template, you would have set A2 as your drawing sheet size. Okay, so that is it for that's just a general idea regarding layout space, how to work on layout space. So in the coming videos we will look much deeper into the concept. So I think I have given you a basic idea regarding layouts. So that is it for this chapter. In the coming chapters and coming videos, I will talk more about layouts and how to set up a template file. Inside that template file, how you have to set up a layout. Then we need to have a title block. All these things put together, we will talk about sheet set manager more in detail in the coming videos. So thank you for being with me. So wait for my next videos. See you in next video. Thank you.